there, and welcome to Instant Impact with Elyse Archer. Guys, I have such a powerful conversation for you today with my guest, and I couldn't be more excited to share it with you. So I want to ask you just a couple of questions first. So I don't know if you can relate to this, but I have found myself more times than I care to admit feeling overwhelmed, feeling like there aren't enough hours in the day, feeling like I want to be making a greater impact in my business and in the world, but like there are just so many things to do. And the to-do list is endless that I never feel like I'm freed up enough to be able to go out and really make the impact that I want. And I know for most of us who started businesses, we did it with the vision in mind of being able to create a lifestyle that we wanted and to be able to really like do our life's work and make the impact in the world that we're feeling called to make. And then once you start doing it, very often what you find is that it is way more work than your previous job was if you come from a W-2 background. Or you find that you're burnt out, you're stressed out, you're tired. The thing that you were so excited about now is just a drag. And you're like, where did the passion go? And where did the excitement go for what I'm doing? And that's part of why I was so excited to bring Kate Gremillion on the podcast today. She's the creator of a company called Well with Kate. And essentially she helps entrepreneurs figure out what are those things that they're doing in their business every day that they don't realize could easily be systematized, streamlined, gotten off of their plate, and they could create so much more time freedom and scale in their business with these little small tweaks. And she is just a genius at looking at your business and figuring out what those things are for you. And so I wanted to bring her on the show today because I know so many of you do work to make a hugely positive impact in the world and to elevate your personal brands and live out your passion. But we can get so bogged down with the day-to-day minutia. And she's someone who can come in and just help free up all of that stuff that holds us back from doing our best work. And so she shared so generously in the conversation today the nitty-gritty tactical details of what we can be looking at in our businesses today in order to free us up to have more time, more peace, more freedom, and to make our greatest impact in the world. And so I cannot wait to share this conversation with you, and I cannot wait for you to meet Kate. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. All right, Kate, it is such a pleasure and an honor to have you join me on the podcast today.
Oh my goodness, Elyse, I am so excited to be here. Such a fan of yours and the show thus far. So thrilled to be here.
Thank you. Well, I'm really pumped to dig into this conversation because when I think about the listeners, I know so many are entrepreneurs who are looking to become more visible in their space, up-level their personal brand. And it's like, we can get so excited about some of the like the visibility piece, and we can be excited about showing up and getting more clients. But so many of us, like myself included, we don't necessarily crush it when it comes to putting the right systems in place to support us to scale to the level that we want to. And so you are like the systems and structure and streamlining queen. And I know just from mutual friends that we have and clients of yours that I know where they talk about, I had one session with Kate and it literally changed my life. Like it changed the way I run my business. So I want to get the nitty gritty, the tips from you on how we can streamline and scale our businesses so that we can just continue to do what we do best and just be visible in front of our audiences. So I'd love to start with, I'm just kind of curious, for you, how did you become so passionate about systems and scaling and all this wonderful back-end operational stuff that you're so good at?
Yeah, that's such a good question because I think for people who know me like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when I started my first business, they would probably look at this now and be like, that's a really interesting choice. I didn't know that she was really passionate about that, but really my first business is what made me so passionate about systems and processes and scaling because I started a business with no idea how to start a business. I liked the idea of entrepreneurship. And I think like so many of us, we're so obsessed with, like you said, the image pieces of it and kind of the glitzy, glamorous pieces of it. But there's a ton of stuff about starting a business behind the scenes that really no one was sharing. Like I would read stories in the Wall Street Journal or Forbes where they were like, this woman, had nothing, started with like $0 in her bank account, and now she's a millionaire. And that was kind of the end of the story. We didn't hear the nitty gritty in between. And so I really, from an early entrepreneurial stage, became so obsessed with what moved the needle when it came to successful businesses versus unsuccessful businesses. And what I realized pretty quickly in my entrepreneurial journey was the thing that was the biggest differentiator I saw between successful entrepreneurs and ones that weren't so successful was how they spent their time and how they managed their business, how they managed their systems. So really, I saw entrepreneurs that were hustling, grinding, kind of doing the traditional, sweat equity, like really working in their business, but they were working really hard and not working really smart. And so many of them got burnt out really easily and really just gave up quickly whenever they could have had a really successful business or successful idea. So I like to compare starting a business to like running a marathon. And you can probably attest to this. It's like, we get this idea to do this really exciting thing, like run a marathon or start a business, but we decide that we're not going to invest in running shoes, or we're not going to invest in training, or we're not going to invest in the right food. So maybe we can run a 5K or a 10K, but if you try and run a marathon and you don't have the right running shoes and you don't have the right food and you don't have the right training, you're never going to get there, or you're going to get there and think, this is unsustainable. I could never do this again. And I really feel like those pieces, the running shoes, the food, all of that is the systems of your business and building it not only to be successful, but to last. And so that's when I became super obsessed with systems, when I realized that Mavenly, my first company, was only able to be profitable and successful because we were able to automate, outsource, streamline, and put systems in place where I could spend my time focusing on the most important things in my business and not on every single detail. Because it's easy to wake up every morning as an entrepreneur and say, I have 20 things to do, and be so overwhelmed.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. And I know you speak a lot to just like the stress and the overwhelm that so many small business owners face, which is so true. And part of what I love about what you teach, and just to me, it's like, it's taking your business seriously. It's like really looking at this and saying, hey, I'm not building this so that I have no time freedom, right? Most people start a business because they have that idea of, I want to have time freedom. I want to have something that I own. And then we get started and we get so focused on just the day-to-day minutia. And the thought of, well, gosh, maybe I could hire a team member for this or outsource for this. It almost feels inaccessible. And I think to me, it's like, it's a decision that you're going to take your business seriously and get the proper support and systems in place to help free up that stress. Because it doesn't have to be that way.
Absolutely. And most
really
people start hoping that it won't be, right? We see these pictures and videos of entrepreneurs like on a beach in Mexico and money just rolling in. And that is possible, but it's not possible without the right systems and processes and outsourcing and streamlining in your business. It's virtually impossible. And you'll probably be working more than you would at a 9-to-5 job if you don't have those pieces in place.
Totally. So for you, Kate, when you're first working with a client and you're looking at what they're doing and how they've got everything set up, and let's say maybe I would imagine a lot of your clients when you're starting with them are maybe solopreneurs, or they've got like a lean and mean team. What are some of the things that you're looking for? Like, what are the systems that you're looking for, and some of the first most obvious things that people can typically create better systems around to free up their time?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I love answering that because the very first thing I do anytime I meet with a client is what I call a CEO purse dump. So I don't know if you're like me, Elyse, where you look in your purse and you're like, I have 80 things in here. How did these all get in here? Like, I have my wallet, which should be in here, but I also have pins and this glitter stick and all kinds of stuff. And that's kind of how a CEO is before they have systems. They've accumulated all of these tasks, all of these things, all of these subscriptions, and we don't know if they're necessary or not. We don't know if we're going to use them or not. And so we do the CEO purse dump. We literally, every task, everything you're doing in your business, get it out on the table. So I make them write down every single thing they spend their time on, or they do, or they should be doing in their business. We write it all down on paper. And I think doing that just mentally, it shows these entrepreneurs just how much is on their plate and why systems and processes are essential. And so we look at that list, and the first check I do is this essential for running your business, and is this revenue generating? If it doesn't meet one of those two things, it's immediately off the list, off the table. We're not going to find a system for it. We're not going to outsource it. We're not going to automate it because it's not serving you. So for instance, so many of my clients, they'll watch a webinar on how Pinterest could really help their business, and they get really excited about Pinterest. They spend 6 months on it and they don't see any money from it because maybe their clients aren't there or they're not using it in the right way. And so that's an example of something that we're spending time on, but it's not essential to your business to be on Pinterest. And it's actually not where you're getting your leads from. Like in the past 6 months, nothing has come in. And so for items like that, I'm not going to try and figure out a system for you. We're just going to get rid of it because it's not a good use of your time. We're going to kind of stick to what's working and amplify and optimize the things that are already working. So that's the first thing that I always do. The next is automation. What are things that we can use software or subscriptions for? So frequently we're looking to hire someone that, is a job that could be taken by robots essentially, so whether that's scheduling Instagram posts or our accounting software or how we communicate with clients, automated emails. So often we want to hire out for those things, but there's a really cheap and easy and sometimes free way to automate that completely. So my first check is always for automation. And so we go through that list saying, what are things that we could automate? The next thing is outsourcing. What are things that someone else could handle? Whether it's a virtual assistant, whether it's someone we can hire for, maybe we can create a job description out of the things that you really need on this list. So we're looking at that list saying, which things can we outsource? And if we can't automate it and we can't outsource it, but it is revenue generating and it's essential to our business, that's when we look to batching, which is one of my favorite suggestions for entrepreneurs. So instead of thinking every day I need to be posting on Instagram, or every day I need to be checking my bank account, or every day I need to be updating my website, scheduling time, a block of time for you to be batching that task. So do a lot of it in one period of time when you're sitting down and you're kind of mentally dedicated to that thing. That's what I'm most interested in. And so from there, we really create almost like a CEO schedule. So how you're spending your time, and maybe we're checking up on that automation, checking up on that outsourcing, and then batching the rest of the things we have to do. And just that one exercise gives people so much clarity and confidence in how they should be spending their time and what can kind of fall by the wayside because it's not actually revenue generating or essential to their business. And it can just be a real light bulb moment. So I don't do really like prescriptions of like everyone should be outsourcing their Instagram, everyone should be outsourcing their finances, everyone should be outsourcing their business operations. I think everyone's so unique, but everyone can use systems that are right for them. So I kind of go through that process with all my clients and say, where should each task be in terms of its pocket? Should it even be here? Should it be outsourced? Should it be automated? Should it be something I batch? And from there, we can create a game plan for systems.
Oh my God. Okay. I just had so many light bulb moments while you were talking. And I absolutely love your description of the purse dump, the CEO purse dump, because it's so true. Like we carry around stuff in our days and our schedules, just like we do in our purse. Hilarious, slightly embarrassing, random side note. Literally yesterday, I did this with a purse that I've been carrying around for years. And I was getting ready to transition to a new purse. So I was like, I'm just going to dump this thing out and get stuff cleared out. I literally found a necklace from my high school prom. I'm not kidding. Now, all I will say is it has been more than 10 years, a significantly large number, more than 10 years since I bought that necklace. And I was like, why am I carrying this thing? In what context and what reason when I have this thing that I've been dragging around with me? And to me, we do that so often in our business, where I love how you said, whether it's something we're spending money on that we don't need to be spending money on, or a task that we've been doing forever that we don't need to do, and we just don't take the time out to think about it. So I'm so embarrassed that I just shared that, but it's now out and it is what it is.
Everyone has that purse. Everyone has the equivalent of a high school necklace somewhere in the purse.
So one of the things that I know people can feel like takes a lot of time for them, and business owners can feel like takes a lot of time, is just social media and like managing your Instagram and your LinkedIn and creating new content. And that could feel like a full-time job. Do you have any tips or tricks for entrepreneurs who are looking to find ways to do that more efficiently and more effectively?
Absolutely. And at least that's probably the number one thing. I mean, there's other things like client management and overall business operations that my clients come to me for, but probably the number one thing is, how do I manage all of these different social media accounts? How do I create quality content on these social media accounts and do it without losing my mind and feeling like every day I'm spending 3 hours writing a caption? And so one of those things is batching for sure, but I think we batch in a way for social media that sometimes isn't conducive to our business goals and the type of business we actually want to create. And so something I've been doing with my clients for a while that's been really effective is thinking about our social media in 90-day campaigns. So kind of quarterly campaigns. So I'll sit down with my clients and say, what are your business goals? What do you want to do? Are you looking to sell a course? Are you looking to fill a mastermind? Are you looking to get more one-on-one clients? What's the goal? What's the business goal that we're ultimately working towards with our social media and our marketing efforts and initiatives? And so they'll give me that thing, and then we kind of retroactively create content based on that business goal. So I think so often, instead of just saying, hey, today I'm in Atlanta and I'm going to post about all these places I'm going, what's the intentionality? What's the purpose behind what you're posting, and how is it bringing people to your actual business goal? And what's funny is just this simple mindset shift that we're working in 90-day campaigns, and this campaign is designed to get us to this goal of filling a mastermind, selling a product. That mindset shift almost automatically brings content ideas, because we start talking about, what are we teaching in this mastermind? What's in this course? What's in my one-on-one program that could be a blog post or an Instagram post or a LinkedIn video? And we're kind of sharing snippets of this larger piece that ultimately we want people to invest in or buy into. And so then what we do is we look at those 90 days, and each week we do what I call MVP. So I recommend at least 3 posts a week, depending on your business model. And I think it should be in each one of these buckets, this M, V, and P bucket. So the M for me is mirror. So how are we mirroring them in our social media posts, where they look and they say, oh my gosh, that's me. They're looking at our social media and they say, that's me too. I have the same problems as Elyse, or I want the same things as Elyse, or Elyse is speaking to me. I can see myself in her social media. So one of your posts has to be that, do you ever feel like, or I don't know if you're anything like me, but those types of posts that are kind of getting us into the same group, like we're meant to be together and this is for you. So one is that M post. The next is V. So V is value add. So am I teaching them a tip or a trick or something that is a little nugget they can walk away with, and it will immediately improve their life or their business? So we've covered B, mirror, we've covered V, so value add, and then P is personality. So I think so often we see on social media, we can see that kind of these cookie cutter versions of Instagram accounts, and we don't really share about ourselves personally all the time. And I think that's a mistake we're making, because social media is inherently social. So I think the personality piece is super important. So whether that's posting about your dog or your husband, or even if it's just something funny and quirky that gives people, some sense of your personality and some sense of who you are, I think adding that in is so important, because that's what differentiates us from maybe why someone else would go with a different coach or consultant or someone else that they might work with. And so I think covering those 3 buckets every week is such a great way to think about our social media planning. So then we just do batching, like we talked about earlier, where you sit down one day, you look at your 90 days, and just literally assign these buckets every single week. You have your M, you have your V, you have your P every single week. And once you sit down and do it, you realize how many ideas you have, and it's almost like too much to fit into 90 days. So you move from having like this paralysis of what do I post about and what do I share about? And then we look at our product and we're like, oh my gosh, there's so much information that's going to be in this mastermind, that's going to be in this course, that's going to be in my program, that I could be sharing in little chunks throughout these 90 days. And so for many of my clients, we'll sit down for 2 days, create 90 days worth of content, and they don't have to think about it for another quarter, which is so nice. And they know the things that they're posting are driving people to their business goals.
That is so simple. It's so simple. Oh my gosh. I love that. Now with the three, so with the M, the V, and the P, like let's say, so I'm thinking I'm going to selfishly ask this question because right now I have a 90-day goal of filling a certain program. So with each of those three posts, how do you recommend people use those to convert? Is it like one out of every three you're talking about your thing that you're selling? Is it always driving to like a freebie that gets people in a funnel? Like, or is it different depending on the situation? Can you speak a little bit to that?
Absolutely. That's such a great question. And what's funny is sometimes we're realizing that one post can really do all three. They can really do MV and P. So you're getting that initial, I don't know about you, but I'm someone who really struggles with systems. So let's say this is my system. So I'm someone who really struggles with systems. I'll share a value add, like maybe how to batch your content. And then I'll say, I'm someone who batches content, and then share something personal about me and the type of content I'm putting out. And then always a call to action in every single post. I don't think there should be a post that doesn't have some type of call to action or an opportunity for conversion. And I think it's always a great idea to think about the lowest barrier to entry. And so bringing people in through a place, whether it's a freebie or a download or a next step for them, that's really easy to accomplish. So instead of, and I see this mistake made so often where it's someone who hasn't been posting on social media, has not built up a following, has not really been adding value to their audience, and they immediately ask people to sign up for like a $3,000 program. And it's like, wait, we have no idea who you are, what you're selling. You haven't built any credibility or integrity with us. And the first interaction you have is really asking for something instead of adding something. And so I think it's so important to think about that value add and how you're showing up and really, giving people content before you're asking them to do something. So I think that first ask needs to be something small, like an email address in exchange for a download, just to build that confidence. And they see, oh my gosh, Elyse has such great content. I'm going to keep coming back. I'm going to think about these other opportunities with her, and eventually climb up that ladder of, yes, eventually I want to invest in her highest program because she's built so much value for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. That makes a ton of sense. And that's super helpful because I feel like there's a lot of confusion on how to do this. And part of what I love is, again, you are simplifying the process so much. So another kind of topic I wanted to ask you about is, I think there's a couple of different buckets of listeners to this podcast. So we've got some who are maybe just starting out in their business, or they may be working a full-time job, but they have these visions of creating a business. And for them, their initial goal is, I want to hit my first 6 figures. And then we've got another bucket that they've been there, done that. They're doing well. They may be doing like multiple 6 figures, trying to get to 7 figures, or 7 figures and beyond. Are there different types of systems that we should be thinking about as we go along? And how would you maybe advise someone who's trying to get to that first 6 figures versus someone who's working to get to 7 figures at this point?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked that question, because I think one of the things that solopreneurs or entrepreneurs who are kind of below that 6-figure mark do frequently is put off systems until they're successful. They're like, once I earn that 6 figures, I will build these systems. And they do it for a lot of reasons that make sense. One, they believe that systems have to be expensive, or I'm going to be spending a lot of money on systems. 2, they're going to think, it's almost this like imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to have these big systems? Who am I to have an employee? Or who am I to have a virtual assistant? And so I think that mentality is one that I'm really trying to shake right now, because there are so many ways to put systems in place that are incredibly cheap or free, and things that can be done and managed by one person. I think there's this myth we have, or this belief that we have, that putting systems in place means hiring a team of 20. And I actually only work with remote virtual assistants. That's kind of how my team is set up. And so I see people able to scale to that 6-figure and beyond point with free or close to free systems that are comprised of software or virtual assistants they can hire for $10 and $15 an hour. So to me, that's kind of your starting point. Like, if you're thinking about implementing systems, I want you to think, and I talk a lot about this in my program, Systems for Scale, I want you to think about the best price for the capability when you're looking at systems. But most of my clients, their subscription investment is no more than $400 a year. which is incredibly cheap. And it's only because I've done so much research to find the systems, the software, the processes that are incredibly effective, but incredibly affordable. And so I find people just starting out that can invest $400, have systems set up that allow them to expand and get to that point where they're thinking about the next set of systems, which is what you're talking about. You know, there's this next level where we have money we can use to invest in our business and in our systems. And I think at that point, that's a time to start investing in experts. And so I have a philosophy, and it's only because, and I'll share candidly here, I'm a terrible boss. I'm someone who is just awful with keeping people abreast of everything I'm doing, all the changes that are being made. I love running at 100 miles an hour, and I kind of let people know what's going on as I need them, which is terrible. And I will admit it is not a strength of mine to be a boss, be a manager. But because of that, I've really adopted this kind of, I guess, mindset towards my business of investing in experts when I need that specific thing. So if you're looking to really up-level your email marketing, or a lot of people right now, the conversation is about Facebook and Instagram ads. How do I do that super effectively to be getting this return on investment that I see from all of these other people in the space? And so instead of hiring a big team, even if you're at that, you know, multi 6-7 figure mark, looking for people that have those case studies or have the credentials that are experts in whatever you're looking to do, and really doubling down on them. And so I think that's always a point that's really fun and exciting for my clients, where we've built kind of the foundational systems, like managing our finances, managing our social media, managing our clients, and we have the systems built for that. But we want to get to that next step. And for me, at least, I always think about who's the expert in this space, who's the Oprah Winfrey of whatever I'm trying to do, and investing and doubling down in them. Because I think that there are people that, and the experience I've had personally is when someone's not a salary employee of mine, and they are being paid to do a specific job, they do it incredibly well because their business depends on it. So instead of having this paycheck that's coming in regardless of if they deliver or not, and that's kind of the case with all of my virtual assistants, photographers, consultants that I hire, you know, they're trying to build a business and stay in business. And we have a checkup every 90 days to kind of look at our contract and see how things are working. So there's a real incentive to do really well and to really up level in that space, rather than knowing, you know, I'll be getting a paycheck anyway, whether or not I grow our revenue, whether or not I grow our follower count, whether or not I take really beautiful pictures, I'm going to be paid anyway. That's kind of the opposite of the mindset. They're building a business and they want those really awesome testimonials and case studies. So they're outperforming so much more than employees we used to have, where, you know, this assumed security keeps them from performing at their highest level. So I really think investing in experts has been, at least something I've seen, be really effective for myself and my clients.
It makes so much sense. And it's so true. It's just like the drive to perform, the drive to do well does make a lot more sense when there's not that guaranteed security and paycheck coming in every month. Is there I think sometimes people wonder, well, how much should I be investing in outsourcing and systems? Is there kind of a rule of thumb, like you should invest X percentage of your revenue, or does it really vary depending on the situation? Like, what would you say to people who are wondering that?
Yeah, I think it totally does vary on your situation. And this is probably not everyone's kind of school of thought or the way that they're thinking about it. But for me, I take what I need out of my business, and literally like what I need to like pay rent, pay for food. Everything else is reinvested. And that's part of the conversation around people that are really winning in the space. You know, what are you doing to grow your business? And most of them answer like, I'm reinvesting 100% of what I can invest, because, you know, even what people are seeing with like Facebook and Instagram ads, it's really one of the only things out there where you put in $1 and you're almost guaranteed 3 back if you're doing it successfully and effectively. And so, you know, I know a lot of people subscribe to this profit first model, and I totally believe in paying yourself and being able to do the things you want to do in your life outside of your business. But if you are really looking to grow your business and that's your goal, you should be reinvesting 100% of what you can back into your business, because if you're doing that effectively, you're going to see your business grow. It's just like any other type of investing, like real estate or, you know, in stocks or bonds or what have you. you want to put as much money into this investment as possible because you're confident in the fact that it's going to grow. So for me, I've budgeted out, okay, how much do I take out for my mortgage, for my car, for my groceries, for, whatever other expenses I have. The rest of it, I'm going to put as much money into Facebook ads. I'm going to put as much money into virtual assistants. I'm going to put as much money into people that are going to help expand my business as possible, because I'm confident that I'm going to get that return on that investment.
Yeah. It's it's like the short-term discipline for long-term gain type of mindset. And you just made me feel better, because I always laugh when it's time to do my taxes at the end of the year. I'll look at what I made versus what I spent in the business. And it's like, wow. I kind of laugh because I'm like, profit from the business wasn't huge because there was so much put back into it. But it does make me feel a little bit better to hear that you would subscribe to that model and say that's actually how you do it, to grow the business. Yeah.
No question. Yeah. In fact, if you're looking at like kind of the biggest players in the game, they almost always across the board, they take no profit, because they understand how taxes work. And so they understand this system is designed to reward them for investing in their business. So even if it's like a beach house or a private jet or a mastermind group that's going to Paris and Tahiti, that's a business expense. So they're not like, if you talk to heavy hitters, like even like Warren Buffett style people, they're like, yeah, the goal is not profit. The goal is to spend everything you have back on your business, because taxes are involved. It's like the biggest expense so many American business owners have is taxes. Like, you're just giving that money to the American government. Why not spend that on your business, reinvest, invest in a mastermind, invest in a coach, invest in something that's going to grow your business? Because if not, 30% of that is going to Uncle Sam and you'll never see it again.
Girl, you are speaking my language. I can spend some money now. I can do that.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, Kate's giving me the green light. She's co-signed. I can spend all of my money. And I mean, what better investment than in yourself? Truly. I mean, you're investing in the growth and the future of your business, which in my opinion is the best investment you can make.
Totally agree. So a couple of just final questions for you. One thing that I think is kind of fun to look at is just best tools, tips, things we should be thinking about for, 2019 going into 2020. Are there any favorite tools that you love for scaling that you would recommend people should be thinking about right now?
So many tools. Honestly, it's like asking me to pick my favorite kid. Like when people are like, what are your favorite systems? I'm like, there's so many different ones. Because we've talked about social media, one of my favorites is later.com. And so when we're talking about scheduling out our social media, that's one, most of my clients, their channel of focus is Instagram. And so we're really focused on Instagram and growing Instagram. And so automating with later.com and having that automatically post your Instagram stories and your Instagram posts in your grid is a huge game changer. Another one that I love, and people joke, they're like, you should be a spokesperson for them, because so many of the people I work with, they're service-based entrepreneurs. So they're coaches, consultants, creatives. Dubsado as a CRM is probably my favorite tool of all time, because it allows you to send contracts, send invoices, communicate with your clients, and create workflows all in one place that looks really simple and clean on the back end. I don't have any connection to them. They're not sponsoring me or anything. They just have a really wonderful product for service-based entrepreneurs that are looking for a CRM. Because I think so many CRMs are built for larger businesses that have a team of 200, 300 salespeople. And so it's a really steep investment if we're looking at, say, something like Salesforce. Whereas Dubsado, it's kind of made for someone who's pre-six figures and is looking to create systems and have a client pipeline that really feels good, looks good, makes sense, and gives you a dashboard of kind of everything you're doing at that time. So that's awesome. And the other one that I get asked about all the time is, how do I manage my finances? I feel like that's such a big one that everyone is always like, there's a huge question mark, at least when they're starting out, or kind of how to manage that effectively. One of the best, that was recently revamped, best accounting softwares that I've seen is wave.com. So it's actually free, which is amazing, and just really clean and simple on the inside. That's kind of my aesthetic, like as easy as you can make it, that's what I want. And what's really cool is they've added really awesome charts and graphs that are amazing, and you can add your accountant or hire an accountant through Wave if you're interested. And it just keeps everything super clean and simple, and it makes looking at your finances every quarter, every month, at the end of the year, just so simple and easy. So for people who don't want to spend money on QuickBooks or another accounting system, Wave is actually free, and they can store your receipts along with it. So come tax time, you're not scrambling in your purse where we have, you know, our necklace from 10 years ago and our receipts everywhere when it comes to tax time and you need all of those things. So those are three of my favorites. I could go on for days. I have so many, but those are the three that probably come up most often for my clients.
Those are awesome. Those are awesome. I've been using Later for a while and I love it. I actually never even heard of Dubsado or Wave. So I'm going to check both of those out because they sound phenomenal. Any final, so I want to give people an opportunity to connect with you and learn how they can get further engaged with you. But before we do, any just final words of wisdom for people who are looking to make a greater impact in their systems and scale? Anything I haven't asked you about that you think would be important for people to know?
You know, I think the biggest thing is just people's mindset towards their business and realizing that time is really your biggest luxury as a business owner and the thing that is the only non-renewable resource. So putting systems and processes in place to reclaim your time and to really own your time and spend it the way you want to spend it is the reason why I do this work. And it's the reason why so many people need systems and processes, because you have a limited amount of time and you really should be focusing that on either the most essential and revenue generating parts of your business or living life the way you want to be living it. And so I could not be obviously a bigger fan of systems, but mostly because it allows you to step away and look at either the bigger vision for your business, but ultimately live your life the way you want to live it.
So good. Oh my gosh. This is so powerful. Like I've gotten so many ideas from you, and I have worked with you in the past, and it's been such a game changer to get your perspective on how I can streamline and batch and systematize. And there's such a feeling of just like peace and relief that comes from getting so many of these things off of your plate. So I know you've got a kick-ass course that people are loving. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that and where people can find out more. And then I'd also love if you can speak to just where people can connect with you on social and going from here.
Absolutely. And one reason why I'm super excited about the course that we put together is because unlike a lot of other courses, it's not just done with you where you're having a paper and pencil and really, you know, going through modules and having to take a lot of notes and do a lot yourself. It's really more of like a done for you solution. So many of my clients, which I laugh every time they say this, they say, it's really Marie Kondo for your business. So I don't know if you are familiar with Marie Kondo, but you know, she goes and tidies up people's houses, but what she does is she goes room by room and has a strategy for how they tidy each part of their space. And that's really what Systems for Scale is. We look at kind of the 7 biggest buckets of your business, everything from finances to business operations, social media, client management, and just streamline, systematize, optimize, automate everything we can in each one of those sections. And it's completely plug and play. So I have over 45 templates in there that you could literally log in, steal the templates, and plug into your business. And that alone is worth the investment, because it's taken me now, I guess, 7 years to create those things, but can quickly, I mean, within 24 hours, totally elevate your systems in your business and get you out of the minutia that we've been talking about. So that's probably my favorite part of that course. But I think ultimately, if you're someone who hasn't reached that 6-figure mark or is at that 6-figure mark, but just drowning in your business with all your to-dos, Systems for Scale is the best place for you to go. And I know I gave you a link, Elyse, and you'll have one. But if you need any more information or want to connect with me, ask me questions about Systems for Scale, the best place to find me is workwellwithkate.com. And then you can find me on Instagram at workwellwithkate. And then my email is kate@workwellwithkate.com.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you. Yeah, we will put all of those links in the show notes. So for anyone listening, just pop over to the show notes and see that. And I just really want to acknowledge what you've created and your heart and your passion for freeing up entrepreneurs to enjoy their life and to make their greatest impact and to live in their strengths. And there's so much wisdom that you shared just really generously with us today. So thank you so much for who you are and for what you're doing in the world.
Oh my goodness, Elyse, thank you so much. Honestly, so many of the conversations I've had with you have made me realize how important systems are, because all of us have this bigger impact that we want to make. So being able to do that effectively is so important.
Lots of love. Thank you.
Elyse.